Okay, let's wait a bit of audience and we shall start. So before I start, I'll just give some generic background for what is this for, what are we trying to achieve here, what is this going to be all about. So code review is a way of getting someone to look at your code and like that someone can see something that you yourself might have missed, something that you yourself might have never knew, or something else. Code reviews are very important. I also noticed that I have a wrong stream, header, wrong header, so I should quickly change that. Clean code. Nope, it's not clean code. It's code reviews 1. Okay, back to channel. So someone said hello. So that's what code reviews are all about, for learning from others while learning yourself as well, either from the good things or from the bad things, but you're learning nevertheless. And I myself I consider myself a mid developer, not a senior yet, but I am eager to learn. I'm eager to share my experience and learn from other people, from both good and bad things they do, because that's how we learn, through mistakes and through successes of others or yourself. And we got 4 submissions, basically 3 submissions I actually have for the review today. We have, I think, a school assignment, some school project, which is done on ASP.NET MVC. And then we have a Tic Tac Toe game. And lastly, we have a game on Unity, I think. Some questing system and particle system for a game. So I think Tic Tac Toe game is the most simple one, and we should start with that one. And I think the person who owns Tic Tac Toe is here. So let's get to it. All right. I will open the Tic Tac Toe project. I forked the project. Yes, and it's 9 p.m. right now in EET time zone. So it's happening right now. I think you might still be seeing clean code solid. That was topic of 2 lessons ago. And I forgot to update it. I updated it, but it's a bit too late, so I think Twitch didn't pick it up yet, and it will only pick up when I restart my stream. Anyways, I don't think that matters that much, so let's get right to it. I start code reviews by looking at the repository structure. So I was given this link to GitHub repository, and what do I see? I see git ignore. That's a good thing. So git ignore is basically a list of files to ignore. That's probably a generic git ignore, and I won't look at that. It's not interesting. And what interests me, so that's fine. This is a simple project, and the current structure is fine, I think. I will cover a bit different structure project, and then I will be a bit more picky, and I will try to say why it's not so good. Anyways, let's get into the project itself. So when I go to a project, I see a duplicate folder, and a solution folder. Well, solution itself should be with the root of repository. All those files belong here, but solution itself should be in the root. And then this should be the actual project. So basically this project has one extra depth, which isn't needed. And if I go here, I see this, and this is okay for a small project. Let's open this from Visual Studio. So I see 3 files in a project, and this probably implies that there are too many things going on per single file. So I'll start from a starting point of a program. Let's see what happens here. Right, from the top, we have a namespace defined. This is good. Using, that's good. The problem here is inside the main function, we have something quite low level. We create a game and then we start it. Conceptually, this should be called in a single function. So conceptually, we can refactor it. So I'll just do refactor extract to method. And I will say that it's a method. And I will call it start game. More like run game. Start game. Run game, yeah, run game. So now this is better. And now I should also move. It's okay to be here, actually. So Jumbled Words said, I know JS really well, and I want to move it into learning C# on Ubuntu. Can anybody give me any pointers? The only pointer I can give you is that you should use Visual Studio Code, which is multi-platform. And with that, you can use some sort of an IDE to write C# code. And if you write C# on .NET Core, you can also achieve multi-platform. So it should be no problem as long as you choose .NET Core, as .NET Core is multi-platform. Maybe someone else can give more tips, but that's something that's all I can give you. Okay, so a game is being created and then game is being started. And while true, basically console input is being read, and then okay, I get it. This thing, again, this is a low-level thing, and low-level things should be put, they don't belong in high-level calls. Run game is a high-level function. It's basically doing all that we wanted to with this program. So we created a game and we started it. That's high-level. Then this whole thing should be asking to retry a game. So prompt to retry a game. And if prompt to retry a game was positive, we restart the game. Okay. So this part again, slight code duplication, game, new game, and game, start game. This is not a necessity to split, but we can split this as it conceptually makes it slightly easier to understand. basically now those two functions are grouped as we create a new game and start it. So start new game. I would have a bool field such as is running rather than while true. And that is true. That is a good point. While true is a bad practice. While true has a risk of never ending, and that's why if we mess it up, and that's a possibility, it will never stop running. So this should be, as Joshman said, is retry. I think it makes more sense. So I'll put it to false right now. The thing is that this right here essentially is prompting to retry. So this should be split, the function. Prompt to retry. And we get a bool back if it was positive or negative response. So if answer is yes, we return true. Otherwise, we return false. And is retry requested? More like that. So if is retry requested, that's a good point. With a do while loop, we no longer need a start new game. So we can do something like this. Do while and basically is retry requested, like that. Do start new game, and look how much we actually dropped. So we start a new game while is retry requested. I mean, and we repeat it as long as is retry requested. So you see how much code we just dropped with a nice refactor. And since this is a really small project, it's maybe fine, but I think we could do something else. This whole thing should maybe be in a separate class, like a game loop class. So we create a game loop. Yeah, I will put this as a game loop. So we create a new class, and now we can put all those, because they definitely don't belong to the program, they belong to the game stuff. The answer variable is needed. I don't think the answer variable is needed. Which one? The answer variable is needed. Oh yes. It's a variable. It's a local variable. A field is something that you define in scope of a class. It's negotiable, and it's a preference, a thing of preference. I would definitely split it, because I don't want to both read a console and compare it in the same line. I want to have a separation. Yeah, it's a style. I consider this more readable, even though it's totally fine to do it either way. to have it in the same. But anyways, I would definitely put this as lower here. And I just want to see if answer is that, as it makes it a little bit more clear to me at least. All right, and I'll put this in a game loop. And I'll get rid of static. Whoops. And I will, and that's all. And this is not private, this is all public. All right, so if I go to game, whoops. So if I go to program, what do I do? I create a game loop and I would like to say run. Game is redundant, it's game loop, so run game is redundant. Okay, so game loop dot run. And that's it. We refactored it. Voila. We create a game loop and we run it. And inside it, we start a new game and we keep on replaying the game as long as the user requested a replay. That's all. The other method, that's true. Those methods can be private. Encapsulation, my friends, is a very important thing, as you don't want to expose more than you need. When I create a game loop, all I want to know about is that I can run it, and that's all. Yep. If this was a solid-based application, if this was a big application with intention to be used elsewhere, then interface would be needed. This is not the case though, so we don't really need an interface here. Having no access modifier for game loop is also fine, though I prefer specifying it even though default is internal anyways. Last touch to this class is that I don't like specifying a type. I mean, it's not a good practice to specify a type when it's obvious what a type is. So each of those should be a var. And lastly, is retry requested, we compare this to a y. And this is actually a really common mistake. Not a mistake, but a small bad thing. Basically, we return true when this is true, and that's redundant because we can simply return the condition. And this is not quite clear, so var is retry accepted. I can return like this, and I separate return usually with a space in between. How come it's bad practice to specify the type? It's bad practice because it's redundant. It's fine if your type is short, but it's not fine if it is long because you'll spend time typing the type. You don't want to spend time typing the type. Let the compiler do the job for you. More like IDE because it's not. It's known without the need of compiling. It's simply a convention. The only time when you would need to say type explicitly is when it's not clear or when it matters. And it matters in cases like when you have var a is 5 and you have var b is 6. And when you have var the result, something like that, and you say a by b, and you expect it to be, I will change the numbers to make it more easy, and you expect it to be 0.5. And when you expect it to be 0.5, it should be set explicitly that this is a float and not an int. For learning purposes, it might, yeah, I agree to the point that Mr. Trout made. that specifying a type helps when you're learning, because you might move to another language which doesn't have such feature, or you might end up using variables without knowing their type, without having an idea what a type is altogether, and that's just a horrible thing. So specifying a type when you're starting out is not a bad thing. Well, right now we see it's a game, so it's obvious. If in a case of a number, there is no reason for compiler to think that this is going to be a float, so it also picks it as an integer. And if you hover your mouse over it, you can see the type that it applied. Okay, so we refactored the program class, and let's move on to more interesting classes. Win rules, oh my. Yeah. Okay. Win rules has a private game. Now, a small thing, a small inconsistency, conventionally speaking, a game should be with underscore prefix. I mean, private fields, this is a field, variable of a class. So fields inside a class should be with underscore prefix. Another thing, this is not needed as we already are in a scope. So I will use resharper and remove the this modifier. We don't need that. The this, not modifier, but keyword. I guess it's keyword. Okay. Need to improve the draw. Preferably you should use conventional things to do things. There is another thing called, if you press Ctrl K, V? No, it wasn't that. Ctrl K twice. No. Oh, it adds bookmark. Ctrl K B, Ctrl K V, Ctrl K B V. Anyways, pressing Ctrl K twice adds a bookmark. And bookmarks are a bit better than to-do tags. So you might use those to get a better idea of overall. And you can see bookmarks, I think, through here, other windows, bookmarks. Yeah, Ctrl WB, that's the key shortcut to bookmarks. So if I add a bookmark here, I will basically put the same thing that I wrote here. And I will call it this. Whoops. Let me rename you. Okay, so right now we can scroll somewhere there. And if I double click this, it will take you to the place where I marked it. So, oh damn it. K twice, B. So bookmarks are a bit more structured way of how you can mark something that you want to go back to. So it's better. Here we see a really sadly common thing in especially beginner programmers. You wrote a comment for checking something. It's still not clear the intention for this. So checks if each line is empty and returns relevant condition. Okay. If each line is empty, first line, second line, third line. So this can be moved to a bool, and we won't need anymore a comment for that. We can use a named variable. So is all lines, what was it again? Check if each line is empty. So is more like are all lines empty? And we can put a condition. So if are all lines empty, we return true, and else we return false. Again, you can simply return the thing that you checked. So it's redundant. Let's move on. Line full. Line full. What does it do? Bool draw false. Well, I'll just fix this a little bit. It's a good idea to have is prefix or are prefix or was or were prefix for Boolean variables, as you want to give a better intention for what it is for. And again, var, since false is obvious that is Boolean and no other type. It's a preference. The most important thing about var or specifying type explicitly is staying consistent. So as long as you stay consistent, it doesn't really matter if you use var or bool. Since I started already refactoring everything to vars, I will keep on doing it. In the next project, if I see type explicitly defined, then I will keep it that way. Right, the magic number. The magic number is used consistently in 3 places. And magic numbers are bad because they don't give an intention. We need to know something more prior to working with code in order to understand what it happens. And we might figure it out, but it will take us unnecessarily too long time. So I will put constant here. And what does this number mean? Lines. Lines count. Rows count, maybe. Line is a bit ambiguous. Row is a better. Row count. Rows count. Count. So it's 3. So now if... so of course access... the type. And constants are Pascal case. So now if I rewrote it like this, I can replace 3 with the constant. And now we have a loop which runs as long as index is smaller than rows count. Number of symbols in a line. Okay, so I presumed it wrong. Number of symbols per line. Right. Don't be afraid of long variable names. Of course, if you can, try to make them as short as possible, but don't use abbreviations. Abbreviation is really bad if you don't have the domain knowledge, domain conventions for those abbreviations. For example, VAT is a good abbreviation, but if I call this NOSP, no one would understand what it is. All right, so we have a for loop if line I, right. If line I, by line, did you mean horizontally or vertically? This kind of line, whoops, this kind of line or this kind of line? Which one? Horizontally. So we should call things what they are. If it's horizontally, it's a row. And we can rename those to rowful rather than line. Since line, you know, is ambiguous. Line can be either vertical or horizontal, but row is horizontal. If it's vertical, then it's a column. I also wondered why it's there, because I don't understand the purpose. But I will go back to it. So if row I is this, is draw true, else return false. Again, we can just return this. So var is row is character empty. Is character not empty, filled. Avoid negatives. If we can invert the word and call it like that, then we should. So if is character filled, we return that. Also, this is quite strange because... oh, I see. Okay, I get what Joshmont meant as well. I will redo a bit. Here, we return immediately when it's false. And this will only return true. Oh, okay, I get it. So this method, it checks if all symbols in a line are empty. So we can rename that. Let's redo. So is empty. Okay, return this. If is empty, right, if is empty, return immediately. Else, so this one will be renamed to a bit different name. Are any empty? More like is row empty. Right, is row empty. And we don't need false initially. Why is it? Oh, right, we do need false. We can just say bool. In this case, we'll say bool. Okay. So here we say if row is empty. Is row filled, actually. That's the better name. Yeah. Agree to what Joshman said. So now we have is row filled. Is row filled means that this is not empty. And if that is false, then I return this. I actually wonder what you guys think. Is it better to return false here and then true here? But I'm changing logic of this, all of this. And now I can rename this. Is row empty? Is row filled? More like. Is row empty? more like, does row contain any characters? Does row contain characters? Does row contain characters? I'll call it like that. Characters. Though this is also a character, so it's a flaw. There's no need for that. I agree. Okay, this now is good. So if does row contain characters, so if it's empty, in other words, this says, and this groups them, if all of them are empty, and it's not repeated anywhere, and we refactor this function. That's good. Check all 8 possible win combinations. Is victory, is win. Is winner, no need, but is win. Actually, is winner symbol. That's again, that's a bit tricky. Tricky naming. Let's see what it does. Line win. So I have no idea what line win does. If given symbol win by line, return true. So it basically checks that that if a specific symbol is across the line, like this or this, then it's a winner. Okay, now it makes sense. Okay, and now I see that line is understood as a row. So I'll say is row is row 1, is column 1. Maybe just win. Is column win. Is row win. I don't really think there is much to refactor here. I also said that I will refactor those, so I will. But vars, I'll put vars there. Is row win. That's fine, I think. Again, this could be simplified. Can it? If list is not symbol, meaning that, right. So I'm checking if list is having the same symbols. I think that there is no need for a comparison, and there is no need for an explanation, because I think this is pretty descriptive. The symbol will also be a char instead of a string. That's a good point. Now list. Oh, list is a string array. Oh, list is a string array. It's not good. List is actually a char array. This is a char array and not a string array. So we can refactor the types everywhere. Refactor signature. I would like this to be char array. And again, there is a problem, as there is no such thing as empty char symbol. Oh, that's a great thing. That's a really great refactor idea. How do we go around this issue? Symbol is not empty, but is there a char empty something. I don't really remember. Char, min, max. White space. White space. But it is white space, and it accepts the string anyways. I guess we will have to deal with it. And char is not accepting those empty ones because I think it's a sequence of symbols, something like that. It's not really a symbol. So yeah. Okay, let's continue with, where were we? Game loop, win rules. Here. Let's undo a bit. That's fine. That's fine. As suggested, we can do a linku operation. I'll just copy it. Great, I cannot copy it. So list where C, as it's a char, oh crap. Can we? I don't think so, but let's try. I don't think it's a supported symbol, but let's try. Wait, where is it? First line, okay. Char. Oh, it is, never mind. I mixed it with this one. This one is not supported. This one is. Okay, sorry about that. Okay, good. Thank you for pointing that out. Right, char. First line is this. Okay, let's just blindly fix those errors. Okay. Symbol. Okay. Turn X or O. More like this. And this. And this. And this. Thank you, Dance With Me 123 for pointing that out. Is winner char. Is row win char. What else? Char. Okay. Now we say with a single call to any. Well, that's even better. It drops even more. So basically it comes down to this. And some people prefer it to do it like this for one-liners, but I don't. So I don't recommend one-liners like that. Okay, so it dropped to one line. It's quite simple. We basically say that if list has any symbols which aren't like this one, then if list has any symbols which aren't like this one, yes, is row full. Where was this row full? Where was this row full? Is row filled. Oh, yes. Yes. This is again chars. And we say any, so if there are any which are empty, which aren't empty, I can consider that as a row which contains non-empty characters. Thanks for pointing that out. And great, it's looking much better already. Those became one-liners. Is column win? Is row win? Is row win? Is column win? What's up with this one? Can we do anything about this one? I don't think so. At least not right now. The comments are redundant. We don't want comments. We can simply say var is same symbol is matching symbol in column, and we can say this. So we basically is matching symbol in column, we return true, else we return false. So far I can't think of any way of turning this into a better situation. If we wanted a similar one-liner like this one, we would have to convert, basically turn the array, flip it on one side, so we can do that, but that's a bit too complex for this kind of task, so I don't think it's needed. That's fine. Diameter win. Well, diameter is something, well, when I imagine diameter, it's like a circle. So it's a strange name. But I think you meant something like this case, or the other case. False is likely the most often returned value, so I would invert the if statements. But we will return false in the very end if all other things and checks fail. Or you mean in this one? Oh, you meant in this one. Sorry. Okay. False. True. Also like separating this. Well, first rename this while we think about it. Is if first line, second line, third line is column win. Oh, diagonal is a better name, that's true. But I still don't get what you meant by inverting the if statement. I don't see how we can do that. Diagonal is definitely a better name. Is matching symbol in column? We return true. Or are you saying that we should check if symbols aren't matching? And if they aren't matching, I return false, and then in the end I return true if that wasn't the case. Did you mean that? Because I don't really see how that changes anything in this particular case. Okay. I'm not sure. I would like to know what others think about this case, if inverting if would help. I'm not sure. It will return sooner if false. Okay. Is diagonal win? Maybe it's more of, I don't know, an optimization thing. I turn in most cases, but here I don't think it matters too much. Okay. Here we should probably, I'll just give myself a note that it's left to bottom, top left to bottom right. And here it's the other way around. And how should we name this? Oh, I think what we could do here is this is basically a redundant check. And we can unify this simply changing indexes, order of indexes. Is diagonal win? So we can change this to list any symbol any. Also, this actually, when I look at it, it doesn't mean that a row won. It means that a list has the same characters. So is a better name. And now we can do something like this. Second if checks bottom to top right. Yep. So what I think would be the best, putting those maybe in array. Putting those into an array, I think it might be a good idea. Not sure if that's a good name, but I would do it like this. Whoa. Come on. Because we essentially already implemented how we check the symbols and stuff like that. So we define that the top left to bottom right diagonal is this. And we already implemented a way to check for new chart. We don't need that. For checking if symbol is matching. So is top left to bottom right one. And we can use our function. Does row contain, not this one, our matching symbols, this one. And pass top left and a symbol. And do the same to the other one. Okay. So like this, if we somehow change the logic of how we determine that is okay. Is the second var name bottom left to top right, bottom left. Thanks. And this is this var. So we return that this or this is true. Okay, and we are left with the final refactor. So our matching symbols is columns 1, That's true. That's true. Thanks for the tips. Really appreciate it. So we have this, and that's it. And we can return. If are matching symbols return true. Okay. Thanks. And we're left with this. I think this is verbal enough. So we can do something like if. More like one if, I think. A single return, basically. Return. So this or this. Yeah. Or this. Or this. Or this. Wait. Oh, 2 brackets. Okay. Right? And it's much better now. I would be skeptical about this maybe, but I don't see how to refactor. I'm skeptical about the part that this and this are 2 different things. But it's like the perfectionist way would be splitting these two in 2 functions, as you're checking 2 different diagonals. But it's fine, it's fine. Okay, so we're done with the win rules. And now the game itself. Okay, what can we do? Win rules. Oh, don't do this. It's bad. Having abbreviations when there is no domain yet formed is not a good thing. So you should never use abbreviations when they wouldn't mean anything normally. So we have win rules. What do we print? I don't know. I need to look. Okay, so we initially print the first print empty game, I think. Print board, yeah, print board is good. Print board is good. So when we start the game, we initialize the rules and we print a board. And while game is running, we do stuff. Right? I think turn is a noun and for or a verb, but it doesn't mean that we are changing angle. It means that we are taking turns. So it should be take turn for X, I think is a better name. Whoops. Take turn. Well, this specific case prints a single, like just the beginning state of a game. So, and the string can mean, it pretty much means the same, but I would prefer having a separation of those two. I think it might make sense. Okay, so while true, take turn X if win rules is winner X. X won the game. Break. Again, I think is game over. False. So while actually I will just say bull in this case. So while game is not over, we do something. Is game over? Now we don't need to break and we say is game over to true. That's so far my processing flow. So X takes turn. O takes turn. This conceptually makes more sense, I think. Break or continue? And also this is if. Oh crap, it's not if. Okay. Is draw, break or continue? Well, we do stop the game here. So oh, come on. No, you don't. You set the value. Game doesn't stop until you complete the loop. Oh, you mean that, right. So I'm wondering, is this even needed then? why would I need continue in this case? Because I want to stop it and not continue after something happens. Oh, okay. Sorry. What do you guys think? Is this fine? Because in the end, if it's draw, game is over, this will hit, or should I just make it consistently and do while true? Which one is better? Tim Tam 3300 said you should keep using while true and break out when needed. I think that's pretty self-explanatory. And now I see that I think it's true. Okay, so I think you need draw in the middle again. Draw have to be in the middle because X turn is last one. That's true. If is winner, else is not needed because it will break anyways, so it would be redundant. Okay, that's true. Yeah, that's true. It might be either way. And again, we will rename it a bit. Is draw. Is winner, is draw. Okay. Hello. 3boy. Boy. And I think we can print a redundant message. Choose line, choose column, take turn. Print board. Print board, by the way, should be much higher, since it should be in the same way as high level methods at the top. This is high level method, should be at the top. And I will split this in a separate method. Print winner. That's true. Place symbol at. Okay, private. Void print winner. Char symbol. String interpolation. We are 14 people right now, and I'm planning to review code of 2 people today. So we print winner of X and we print winner of O. All right. All right. Okay. I would really like to somehow group this, but What do you guys think? Should this be grouped? For something to take turn and to check if someone won. So we would have a single call of those. This is also true. But yeah, this is also true. Cross or circle. Array of chars to loop through? Ooh. Ooh, that's a good idea. Okay. Whoops. Oh. Circle and cross. Enum would be nice, but the problem with enum is that we would need to somehow convert it into a character anyways. So it's a bit, you know, it's a bit weird. Okay, const char and cross, and we can say private players. So char array players is made of cross and circle. And now we can do a for each. Oh, and even the take turns part is refactored. For each var player in players, each player takes turn and we check for draw. Nice. And the other part just drops. And we can just say print draw in the end. All right, I like this. I really do. Invert if. Nah. Well, sure. We don't really win anything from that one other than removing the brackets, but I think this already is good. And this conceptually, what is this? It's playing the game. So play. Start game, play game. So we can split that into a method. And actually, we can pass players. Play game, win rules, players. So we like this, we can even add a third symbol and so on and so forth, if needed. And this is not needed in the scope of the game. This is just needed in the scope of the game. And this is not even needed in the scope. Yeah, it's needed here. Const char. Char players, cross and circle. And we pass players. And here we pass players. Players. And we should move this now to separate method. Private char array create players. All right, and that's it. That's the game refactor done. So we basically create win rules. I think it makes more sense that we first print a board, then we create the rules that we fit, rules and the players that we fit to the play game. So we play game based on some rules with some players. The benefit of this is that we can change the rules and change the players, add more or less, and all is quite readable. Let's continue play game. Well, we are in a game. So just play is enough as it's redundant. A great point. Win rules to constructor. Let's do that. And I'll just call them rules. So we say that rules are rules. And we no longer need to do this, but we will need to do this when we create a game. Much better. Okay. Print board. Okay. String concatenation is not how we concatenate strings in C#. String interpolation is how it should be done. So we no longer need those separate nasty strings. We use string interpolation to make this nicer. First line, first line, first line, first line, second line, second line, second line, third line, third line, third line. Okay, so this also smells like repetition and we can split it. Control C arrow. Control arrow. I think I might have different keybinds. Does different thing. What is this supposed to do? For now, the easy part, and then we will catch redundant ones. We can see that we basically print array 3 times. Oh, it's Alt, I think. You see, Alt, not Control. Let me think. What is this for? Why do we need to separate this like that, I wonder? Oh, so that we make like a cell. Okay. So this conceptually is drawing a row, drawing a row, drawing a row. Sorry, this is drawing a row. So we do it 3 times the same thing. Let me split it so it's more clear. And we can, of course, turn this into a method. Draw a render row. And definitely better off passing array of chars which represent the row. Or better passing chars like this. Symbols. But we should also check that maybe validation is needed here because we cannot draw more than 3, but it's just refactoring, so I won't add that. I won't change the logic. All right, so we will add those symbols here. Oh, crap, here. Boom, boom, boom. So it's first line. Oh crap, what did I do? First line, 0. Second line, 0. First line, everything of first line. And we do this for others. Maybe I can move it. Oh, geez Louise. And last one. Okay. And okay. All right, we did it. So we render 3 rows. First, again, line is a bad word. Row is better. Okay, print board, render row. Take turn. Symbol takes turn. Again, string interpolation is what I prefer. Render row needs a row number. Ah, you're right. And we put it there in the symbol. And we put it at the start, since that's how params work. Okay. So 1, 2, and 3. save all just in case. Okay, take turn, console write line. 1 to 3. While true again. Mindlessly will change the name to is symbol placed at x y symbol. Choose line, choose column. This looks really similar. So I think we can refactor those into a single method call, or at least using the same. That's true. And again, choose row. And this is column. And this is row. And again, I'm being perverted with vars, but that's how I roll. Choose row, choose column is symbol placed at column row. Print board. Break. Else you cannot place at string interpolation. At column and row. Okay. Okay. That's fine. That's fine. Of course, we could split printing to some other function, but that's okay, I guess. So while true, we pick column and row, take turn. This actually smells like a need for recursion, because essentially we will keep on taking turns as long as the user failed picking a valid point on the board. So I will do this a bit differently. And I think even though it's recursion, it will be more readable. So we take a turn by choosing row and column, and then trying to place a symbol at some location. And if we placed it correctly, we print the board, and if we fail placing it, we say that you failed, and we take a turn again. So this is a really good example of recursion. that you're calling the same thing again. And it's more meaningful than a while true. One, two, or three. Well, I think that's obvious. Int x, mindlessly doing this. Simply, if you need to use something, keep it close as you can. Here is less close than here. Okay, so I choose a row. Okay. Prints errors. Try parse. Okay. This is basically saying is valid input. More like is valid choice. So if is valid choice, if it's not valid choice, then I say that. So it's better to avoid negatives. Better to first check for what is valid and then check for what is not. So I'll just switch those two. And again, stay consistent. And that's also a really good point. X. And X is a row. Oops. Okay, and this is false. So I say while choice is invalid, I ask to choose a row, and oh, here, row string. It's really not recommended to have a suffix for a type. I guess I'll just call it input. And from that input we parse a row. Makes more sense, right? Oh, but oh, okay, good. Okay, whoops, sorry. Row. We can inline it here. I would change the method to accept a string which says row or column. You mean grouping those two, right, into one method? Mm-hmm. Yeah, we should do that. What's missing? Not all code parts return. How was it returning before? Because it had while true. Why is it different? What's different now? We don't need else. That's true, but that doesn't solve the problem. I guess. But I don't see how can this not return something here? It's either infinite loop or it returns a row. Huh. Weird. Okay. Oh, okay. Never mind. Please choose from 1 to 3. Please choose from 1 to 3. All right. Let's unify those two. Choose line, I'll say it this time, and I'll put is row. Prompt. Okay. So this will be string. Actually, this will be var. So if is row, we have row as prompt, else we have column as prompt. Okay. To another method. I agree. Maybe a static class, which would basically combine console write line and read line, as it's not related to anything really. Public static prompt input. String message. Okay. And if I go back, let's take those two and let's return it. String. Okay, input manager prompt input. Message. Okay. So input read line, we prompt it. With this. And choose line is row. If that line is row, we ask for row input. Is valid. If is valid choice, we return a row. Again, we don't return a row, but we will return choice. And now we don't need choose column. And choose line, choose row. I'll simply say true and false. Sorry, is row, so true here. Okay, lastly is symbol placed at. Place a symbol at requested line and spot if it's free and returns true. Woo, does many things. Okay, X and Y. X is a row. Y is a column. Row. And this is a column. So if row is 1 and first row column minus 1. Okay, this is weird. It seems to be that there is a shit ton of repetition here. And again, else is inlined. What is it meant by magic numbers? Here is a magic number. Though in this case it's not as bad, but let's go to the place where it was horrible. Game loop. No. Win rules. Where was it? I think we refactored it. Anyways, where you have numbers like... Crap. Where is it? Game loop, game. Where you have numbers like this. 1, 2, 3. Okay, this is comparing to row. It's fine, it's kind of fine. But if I do a for loop, oh crap. And I do something like this. What is the 3 for? I don't know. And I don't know thus it's magic number. Magic number because it has no meaning. 0 is not a magic number because 0 is like the first element, it's conventional. 100 is not a magic number because it usually means 100%, something full. 1 might or might not be a magic number, but all other numbers are magic numbers. And the same can be applied to values in general. Values as magic values, where you have some actual value that you pass to, and you work with it. You make an operation with it. You don't pass it to a method call, because here you might look at, where is it? Like, okay, this is column, this is fine. Here you might think like, oh, what's this? What's this? What does it mean? But then you look at here, 1, 2, 3, and you look at method definition. And you see that it accepts row number. So you know from method definition that this is a row number. But if I do something like 1, and I print 1, I don't know what 1 is. So it's magic number because it has no meaning. Hello, Tauzur. Have a nice evening. Oops. Okay, let's continue with this one. Is symbol placed at row, column, symbol? This looks to me at 3 redundant calls. This looks to me very similar and the same, and I think it can be combined. We work with the same array. The only thing that's different is the index of row. So we could have a method which returns true or false and accepts an array, right? Second row, is symbol placed at first row? I don't understand the purpose of column -1. It's checking. It is C#, Tauzur, yes. Okay. Column -1 implies that. What does it imply? It implies that we're checking something at column because first column is of 0 index. So we're checking something at some column. So we're checking if symbol is placed at... Okay, I get it. Where is this called from? Good question. This is called from take turn. So basically you pick your column and row, and then you check if symbol was already placed there, and if it wasn't, you print abort. You should be doing column -1 there. Probably not, because it's already done here. Basically, the -1 is to make it user-friendly. I get that, but here, user gets input. User picks a column, let's say 1. And here, 1 will mean 0. So -1 is done here already. So it doesn't need to be done from the outside. But anyways, one more thing that I just noticed, the user enters 1 to 3, but your index begins at 0. Your method should expect an index value, not a user entered value. That's also a good point. I think it makes more sense to do it. From high level point, we should reduce the index. And from low level point, we should work with what we have. That's what you mean. And I agree. And especially since it's redundant. We can be user-friendly and let them enter 1 to 3, but the entire program should always use an index of 0. Need one method for all the if checks. Yes. Let's extract this mindlessly. Why can't I wonder? Nah, okay, who cares? I will do it manually. Is symbol placed? Something like that. Okay, what do we need? Row. No, we need what can we do? Row equals 0, first row column, empty character. Space. First row. Row and array. Well, we get array based on a row. Maybe just row? No. Okay, row and array it is. And a column as well. And a symbol as well. Not nice, but maybe we'll think about something. Row. Or just chars. Row, first row, column, and symbol. This is not nice. Right. Row, second row, column symbol, and third row. Not nice, I don't like it. And we return any of the three. Okay. We could combine all the arrays into one and just loop through them. That's true. We could. Is it worth it? Well, we will take some time making an array. We will take some time looping through it, and I think it's the same as doing this. A jacked array would be like, I can show you them. New character. That's a jacked array, and in it I can do something like that with multiple rows. That's jacked array. So we could put each line instead of this. But we won't. Okay, what's left? I think this is okay. It's pretty okay. The comment is not needed, of course, now. And this, I'll just put the to do. Or bookmark. Whoops. Now, when we create a game, we have to pass the rules. This is extremely bad because a game uses rules and rules uses a game. And why is that? Okay. TimTam3300 says there is a bug. All right. In the last method you added Okay. Yes. Thanks. Uh, uh, I don't need the row. But I do need a row in this case. Yeah, it does. So we pass one more parameter, I guess. Row, and this is selected row is a better meaning. So if row is selected row, then we work with it. It checks if the symbol is placed in a specific row. I think we still need an if statement then. Place if empty. Might be. Let's see where it's called again. Is symbol placed? Print board, else. Let's undo it a few times. Oh, crap. Yes, that's true. Placing the symbol. Char's column symbol. If row is 1, chars, we would avoid all of that if we had a jacked array. Now what could we do with this? Place symbol at int row column char symbol. Sounds better. Is symbol placed? Well, I am doing this the dumb way right now. Oh, actually understand now. It makes more sense now to indeed write the jacked array. Rows. 3 and 3. Yes, and I will say first row, second row, third row. And now we don't even need those 3 and we only need 1. It's much better now. Rows. Let me read what you said again. So is symbol place stat should be place symbol add and throw and return true if it was placed, otherwise false. Yes. Also, so the second method should be I think it is right now what you just said. I can invert if to make this a bit better. If symbol is empty, I return false because I cannot. Is symbol placed? More like place symbol. Okay, so I place symbol, and if it was placed, it returns true. If it wasn't placed, it returns false. Yes. Yes, that's good. Okay, I think that's fine now. Print board, right line, take turn. Done. Next, I think we can move on. Last one. Wait, is that it? So are we done? Do you think this is refactored completely? Let's see what we have. Oh, right, we have rules that are messed up completely. Rules have a really bad design because when we create rules, we pass a game. And when we create a game, we pass rules. Circular reference, a really bad thing. Also, Lion through P asked about magic numbers. So here we used a magic number, but we called it a named constant. And now it's no longer magic. It's defined and clear. Okay, but anyways, win rules. Win rules should check if game is complete, if game is won, or if it's a draw. This is a bit lower level function, so we can move it down so we can have a bit clearer vision of what is the most important that's happening here. So we check for a winner, we check for a draw, and that's all. The rest is details. In order to check for a winner, we need game. We need game because we need first, second, and third rows. So I think it makes more sense. I would change the name of the class win condition that is better named, that is title more inclusive. Yes. Okay. So what do we have? We want to avoid this somehow. I think it makes sense that game calls win condition and not win condition calling the game. So I think that's point number 1. But now we need to figure out how do we pass game stuff to it. One thing to note about this, since those rows are essentially reference types, we could pass each row, 3 rows, into win conditions. So we would no longer have circle reference, but then we would have duplicate data. We would have rows in 2 places. We don't want that. What I would suggest is having an event, and inside that event, I don't see how iGame would help. This way, any game that uses the win condition can implement the interface. Yes, but we have a single game, so it doesn't really solve our problem. Here we see that first row always calls game, and it's a bit redundant. We could avoid that by passing the 3 references to each row, but I would suggest doing a bit different thing. When is this called? Win condition play. So we have condition and then we pass condition. Okay. Of course, we don't need to pass it anymore. Condition is also stupid. Win condition. This way, okay. I think when we create win condition, we can simply pass in the arrays instead of the whole game, using simply what we need and not more than that. Could we make this smarter? For now, I cannot say. So for now, let's do it the way we decided and simply say we pass win condition. We pass win condition, but that's not good enough. it needs to know about game's state, at least those three things. We could have a method which would load stuff from game to condition, but do it once, so that we no longer share a reference to a game, but instead to its state that we are interested in. Though that is also not the best thing, but we could do that. So I will do this. Public void load game add game state, something like that, and I will pass in game, and from that we will have, I'll make this public, and I will refactor immediately. Actually, I'll make this private and I'll refactor it immediately. Char array of first row, char array of second row, and char array of third row. And I shall refactor it immediately. Rename it, I mean. Since arrays are reference type, we will be able to keep track of them. But there is one but. Right? So why again is it better to name it with underscore? It's a convention, Barara. When we put underscore for private, I mean, we put underscore for private class members. I guess that's the reason behind it, but that's the convention for C#, for C# language, to put underscore for private fields. Okay. Win condition. Add game state. Yes, when you have it all consistent and keep it to conventions, it is indeed easier. Also, this doesn't make sense why I wrote it capitalized. What else? Okay, that's fine. In our program, game loop, win condition, all is good. There's one last thing that it is messed up at the moment, and it's when we restart the game. When we restart the game, we recreate the board. We re-instantiate those rows, if I remember. Or we do we recreate the game? I don't remember. Where was it? Something yes or no. There was. I don't remember. Play again. Okay, start new game, recreate. Okay, it should be fine. I don't know if this will work. We can try. I don't really want to spend time testing this. Last thing, just removing the using statements that you don't need. So let's just have a look at what we have right now from the start. We cleared basically the entry point of your program, keeping it just the minimal needed to run your game loop. We then went into the game and refactored a bunch of things. We basically found lots of duplicate code, which does basically the same except slightly different. We removed magic numbers. We used a jacked array in one point to work with telling and not asking, basically. We didn't tell what, we didn't ask based on some input to give us a row, but we told us to get row of that index by using jacked array. And now we have a game loop class which runs the game. We refactored that from the program class, the entry point, input manager for writing a prompt and asking for input, and rules. Since rules took state of a game and it was like a circular reference, we extracted game rows from the game itself. Since now we don't need to access rows from instance of a game and we can access them directly. We used Linku for one-liner conditions and many other things for checking overall victory could have been grouped together. Also, in many places there was if condition return true, else return false, which could have been just return condition. And that's it. I will make a pull request for this, and you can merge my refactored version with your code. I will make a pull request after the stream is done. So I think that's it for your code. Of course, this is not perfect. If you would follow pure solid principles, there is still a violation of single responsibility principle. There are still dependencies which are based on implementation details and not abstractions. So interfacing stuff, splitting stuff even more would be the way to go if you want to seek perfection. But for a personal project, I think this is really clean right now. So guys, I spent 2.5 hours for this, and the second project is even more difficult. So the second project is, well, let's cover it as well. Even though it's more difficult, but it's more generic. I won't refactor too much of it. I'll just give my 2 cents about it. This is basically a generic project for MVC, ASP.NET MVC, generic root operations, some entity management and stuff like that. Like always, I'll start with the structure of repository. I prefer not Bitbucket structure, but file structure. So if we go into this project, we have solution and stuff that we need here. The problem with this solution is that it doesn't have git ignore. That's the first thing that gets into my attention. So basically, I'll simply get this from your colleague, and you should have git ignore next to your solution. Other than that, the structure is nice. I like it much more than the previous one because you have a solution and projects next to it. Though how I prefer to do it, having each project which contains your source code in source directory. So you should put it there. Another thing that you should have done, and now I'll go back to the project, the solution, Visual Studio. When you have this as solution name, each project should be named after solution dot something. So solution dot something is how you should name your things. That's the convention. Now, I looked at this and it was strange. Service lib is empty. That's a bad thing. You shouldn't keep those. If I check here, it's also empty. So not only you didn't forget to add a file, but it's just empty. So empty project, no. And this is a web. So you can say presentation. So you have basically a project for entities, a project for web presentation, a project for I guess data queuing, judging from the name without going too deep into details, and a project for some domain logic. And this is good. This structure is good. I would call it like this actually. So this is your domain. This is your entities. You could call it persistence. And I would merge persistence with repository because it's the same. So I would merge the two. And your domain should be calling the persistence layer. And the persistent layer will tell how you get data in general from database. So it will query something, it will define models, and domain will get something in very specific case, based on specification, based on the requirements. So if your repository gets users by ID or all of them, then your domain can filter them out by email, by gender, so on and so forth. And process them as well, of course. Okay, so we have user. This is probably just for authentication. A typical probably identity user for ASP.NET. I haven't worked with ASP for a while. I mean, for MVC and new ASP, so I cannot give too much things about it, but yeah. well, of course, this is used because somehow your project didn't update, but yeah. User repository is fine. This is just generic stuff, so there isn't really much to pick on. What I like, though, that you used generic repository instead of many non-generic repositories. Because like that, you don't need to rewrite stuff. So yeah, this is just generic stuff. This is fine. So basically, there is nothing to say about the backend stuff. Now let's go to the client side. Kind of client side. This is still server side. The controllers, I mean. So login. You get user, check if user can sign. Here is the first thing that I would split. So I would say that this is valid user, and I would put this condition. So if user is valid, you sign in user, else bad username or password, return view, redirect to home. Now I think that it makes more sense to put this here because it will only happen when this is true. So it makes more sense to put it close to where it happens. Now log out. Okay, all is really clear and generic here. This is a bit of a clusterfuck and needs to be read. I really don't like this naming. ADDR is weird because it's ambiguous. It might mean email address, it might mean street address, so it's just email. Also, you don't really need that. But okay, but anyways, that's email, so you create new mail address. Okay. I'm not sure if it does something. Oh, you're parsing. Are you parsing here? Just checking if email is a valid, is it in valid format? Is that what you're doing here? Because that's what it seems like. Well, this line here is a validation for email address, and I think you don't need to redo that here. I might be wrong, but I would double check. Because you have validation attributes which do that for you. So I'm not sure, since like I said, I haven't used the web for a while for ASP. But I think attributes in Are you sure that it works only in front end? But if it works only in front end, that's what you're doing. You're saying this in front end. I'm pretty sure that attributes, that's why attributes are there for. So you don't really need to do that. I would double check this. But anyways, your function does more than one thing. So here you basically validate email. It's not clear that this does validation. Like, I had to think for 5 or 10 seconds to figure out what you do. And okay, we will go on. Registration. Confirm password doesn't match. Oh. I'm pretty sure that for passwords, you don't directly check them and compare like that. You should hash them unless you're comparing hashes here. It's a bit different process and it should be handled externally. Well, it's authorization controller though, so maybe. But it's this line is fishy. Is so this does is matching password. Oh, it's just for checking if password entered was correct. Get user by email. Again. It's just to skip some details that we don't need. And this is creating a user. So the problem with this function that it does more than one thing, definitely more than one thing. Basically, this does validation. That's what it does. And it returns, what's the type for view? I'm not sure. Maybe it's just view. So it returns view. Okay. action result. Thank you. Makes sense because it's here. Okay. So validate registration. Actually, yeah. Validate registration. Model probably. View. Else return null. Actually, it's not exceptional. It's not pretty. It's not pretty. This isn't pretty. you could do this, and then it's a bit more clear that you first do validation and then you create a user. So this is how I would refactor this function. That you first validate the model, and you do a redirect if it failed. And if it was valid, you create a user and redirect to home. Now it's clear what it does in a high level. Okay, create user, validate email, sign in user. I think it's fine. Let's move on. Home controller. That's obvious. That's obvious. Extensions. String extension. Get random string. Okay. Just for consistency's sake. I wonder why everything is without IntelliSense in this project, but I think it's due to the fact that it's on .NET Core, and I don't know if I have it installed here, but that's fine. Again, I prefer vars, but I said I promised that I won't do it, so whatever. Replace path, remove period. I really don't understand what's the purpose of this. So I'll just add this here as a note. Models, all is good. Of hash is good. Okay. Thinking if you didn't put too much in here, but I think that's fine. It's just rendering model, it's not processing it, so it's fine. Hard-coded HTML. The typical stuff. So yeah, surprisingly, this project was much more easier to review, and you register dependencies and stuff. It's a very generic project. I think it's just a follow-through on some tutorial. It's very, very simple. So I think that's about it for this project. Now I will do pull requests for both of those projects. So let me go to the solution and say commit code review. Also, you will have to fix the solution file. My password, god damn it. Okay, I'll do it later. I don't want it to leak, of course. Here. And I think 2 projects to review was plenty today. Code review. This one should work. Push. Yes. And I shall go here. Yep. And what do? I will pull request. How do I make a pull request? Pull requests. New pull request. Yes. Master. Choose different branches. Oh, I'm checking yours, and I should be checking mine. Okay. Tic Tac Toe. Pull request. Okay, great. So I will do a pull request now to... I don't own this project, but I made changes to it. So I'm requesting my changes to be accepted by someone. It's for your interest if you don't know what pull request is. You can work on projects that you don't own, and via pull request, you can contribute to them. So here are my changes that I did. And I can say pull request, happy coding. And create pull request. Actually, I'll put a summary of what we did. So no magic numbers. Split methods, better naming, underscore for fields, no circular references. What else did we do? Split classes, of course. Don't mix high-level calls with low-level calls. Raw implementation. Group duplicate code. Actually, dry. Don't repeat yourself. What else did we do? Single responsibility. And I think that's it. Happy coding. So now I send a pull request to the person, and that person can accept or decline my pull request. And I'll do the same thing to this person. Pull requests. Is this my own? This is his. So I should go to my own, and I cannot do anything because I don't want to look for my password on stream. So with this I'll end. I'll do a pull request to this person as well, though it's very little that I changed. So thank you very much everyone for watching, and thank you especially to those who helped me with refactoring, for giving tips. And I hope that we can make this a nice Sunday tradition and have Sunday code reviews every 2 weeks. So see you next time. Bye bye.